What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about Nikola Vucevic specifically and why I feel like his job could be more in jeopardy than people realize. Now, there are two things that come to mind as to why I would feel such a way about Nikola Vucevic, but regardless, I still think it's an important thing to talk about. I think there's quite a few players that's jobs could be in jeopardy for the Chicago Bulls. With that being said, Vucevic, in my opinion, could be at the top of the list. Why? Well, let's talk about it in this video. Before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls, Nikola Vucevic, and whether or not, rightfully or wrongfully so, Vucevic's job should be in jeopardy and should he be leaving the Chicago Bulls this off-season. Without further ado, let's get started. I want to quickly dive into some stats that Nikola Vucevic has, provided for us this season. Statistics-wise, he's actually had a better season than last season and quite a few other seasons for the Bulls. He's averaging 18 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, and he's played 76 games for the Chicago Bulls this season. I think that is pretty good numbers on the grand scheme of things. I still believe he's up there as one of the better centers in the league today, but unfortunately, with all the positives you could talk about with Nikola Vucevic, there's always going to be negatives as well. And you know what they say, when there's negatives, a lot of people like to sink their teeth into those negatives, and they will not let you forget that there's always going to be negatives with Nikola Vucevic. So what are those negatives? Rim protection, paint defense, defense in general, and his three-point shooting today was one of the lowest I've seen from Nikola Vucevic in his entire career. He shot roughly around 29% from the three-point line this season. So not great from those standpoints, and the frustration continues to grow with Nikola Vucevic. But the numbers still look good, and that could be a potential bargaining chip for a trade acquisition in the future. But why do I believe Nikola Vucevic's job is in jeopardy? Well, there are two things that come to mind. One of them is very recent, and that is AK has said this core does not work and that changes need to be made. Those are two very key points. Now, that does not necessarily reflect on Nikola Vucevic. That could mean anybody. But we know for a fact they want to re-sign Patrick Williams. We know for a fact they want to re-sign DeMar DeRozan. So when you're talking about the core doesn't work, you're obviously talking about the starting five, potentially the big three, LaVine, DeRozan, Vucevic. Those are the three guys you ultimately look at as the core of the team. If you want to re-sign DeRozan, we know Zach LaVine is probably going to want to still leave Chicago, and that trade might prove to be difficult, but I still feel it's very possible. Vucevic, in my opinion, is probably the more likely one to get traded. I think he's the easier target to trade. I think there are certain teams, especially out west, that would love a guy of Nikola Vucevic's playing style. And I think it could work out. I don't think he's on a massive amount of money. I still think 20 million is a hefty price, but it's not massive, and it's definitely a tradable contract. And if you're talking about the core, well, I think Vucevic is definitely part of that. So that's why I feel, number one, his job is in jeopardy. Number two, very, very important. This goes way back, ladies and gentlemen, to the day that we re-signed Nikola Vucevic, and Vucevic talked about his contract, talked about why he wanted to stay in Chicago. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole deal of every single little bit of detail that he said, but there's one specific quote that sticks out in my mind at least when we re-signed with Nikola Vucevic. And this is Vucevic saying it himself. And that is that this core only has one chance to really do something special this season. This is the core's last chance. He said that at the beginning of the season. He said that in the off-season of last season. You know, that's a pretty big deal in my opinion. We re-signed Nikola Vucevic knowing, he knew and he said it, that this front office told him this might be the last chance for them to go and do something with this core unit. And now all this time has passed. The core has still done nothing. It's still been very mediocre. It's still been the same old, same old. Yes, we've gotten some great development from our young players. We've had to deal with a lot of injuries this season. But ultimately, the core has still done nothing. And Vucevic knew this when he was signing his contract. So I feel like that is a big thing, because why would they tell Vucevic something like this? I think they would tell Vucevic something like this because there was always going to be, in the back of their mind, an idea that there could be trades on the horizon if this doesn't work, and Vucevic is probably going to be made aware of those things as he re-signs with the Chicago Bulls. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a pre-agreement suggesting that if Vucevic, DeRozan, and LaVine and the rest of the team, if it didn't work this season, that they would trade Vucevic in the offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a pre-agreement made before he re-signed with the Bulls in general. But regardless, if he told Vucevic that, Vucevic told the world that essentially, that makes me believe that Vucevic's job could potentially be in jeopardy. So 2 reasons right there. Ultimately, this does not mean 100% guarantee that Vucevic is going to get traded. I know there's a lot of Bulls fans that just simply can't wait to see Vucevic leave the Bulls. I think it's a little bit harsh to say something along those lines, considering his numbers are still so good for the Bulls, but I can understand the frustration when we've needed rim protection for so long and we still don't really have it with this Bulls team. I can understand where people come from. If we had a rim protecting center with Vucevic alongside of that, maybe it would have not been the end of the world. But there is growing frustration, and I completely understand where they're coming from. With that being said, what do you guys think? Do you think Vucevic's job is in jeopardy? Do you think AK was talking about different members of the core unit and not Nikola Vucevic? Do you think there's something else that could be coming our way? I think there's a lot of guys that we might not see back here next season. And Vucevic, in my opinion, you know, his job is not 100% gone or lost, but I do think it's in jeopardy. And that's why I made this video. What do you think? Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like and a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.